Howdy there, partner. You're just in time to help me when them dang animals have been out there ruining my crops. Here, take this crossbow and shoot some of them. What do you mean you never shot a crossbow before? Just point the end of the thing you want to kill and yee-haw! Come on, I'll show you. Look at those darn critters just eating their fill. Watch this. Dadgummit, let me try again. Now wait just a darn second. When did the ground start shaking? Good gracious and charitable Chantel, what in... Oh man, I just replaced that there barn. Maybe we ought to get out of here real quick, partner. I can tell you about barn building later.
Welcome back to a Compendium of Monsters. It's Remmerhaz week. Before we continue, slap that subscribe button and turn up those heaters. Winter has come. Remmerhazes are challenge level 11, and 11 Remmerhazes could probably raise an Arctic city. These huge monstrosities have an armor class of 17, average hit points of 195, a speed of 30 feet, a burrowing speed of 20 feet, dark vision out to 60 feet, and tremor sense out to 60 feet. While Remmerhazes have no resistances, they are immune to fire damage and cold damage. This isn't the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but a creature immune to two opposing forces is typically made so because there was a playtest instance of a player character pulling some f***ing bullshit and the devs had to compensate. D&D players are the reason we can't have nice things.
You heard it here first.
For their only ability, Remmerhazes have a heated body. Not comparable to your insufferably sweaty body during the warm summer months, Remmerhazes inflict an additional average of 10 fire damage each time a creature touches or strikes them with a melee attack. This damage is also inflicted when a Remmerhaz performs a melee attack because, come on, what else would you expect? For its attacks, a Remmerhaz has a choice of two, but the second is dependent on the first. To start, a Remmerhaz can make a single bite attack that deals an average of 50 damage split between 40 piercing damage and 10 fire damage. So long as the target is a creature, the creature becomes grappled and restrained, but the Remmerhaz cannot bite a different target. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be terrible news, except it is. The follow-up to a Remmerhaz's bite attack is a swallow. I can't even decide which innuendo I want to use because there are too f***ing many to choose from. A Remmerhaz's swallow attack starts with a bite attack made against a medium or smaller creature a Remmerhaz has grappled. Thanks to the restrained condition, this bite attack is made with advantage. On a successful hit, the victim takes damage from the bite, shocking, right? And is swallowed down that long-ass throat. Honestly, what qualifies as the Remmerhaz's throat? Focus! The poor sucker is then blinded, restrained, and takes an average of 21 acid damage at the start of each of the Remmerhaz's turns. I guess this is hot if you're into vor, but the rest of us would prefer to not be digested. Many things. There's technically no limit to the number of creatures that a Remmerhaz can swallow, but use your better judgment. If you're like me and have no such burden, limit swallowing to 4 player characters or NPCs at a time. A swallowed creature can escape if it deals 30 or more damage in a single turn. If the damage is dealt, the Remmerhaz must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or regurgitate all swallowed creatures. Jailbreak! The creatures are all dumped prone, or supine, outside the Remmerhaz's body in an unobstructed area within 10 feet of its mouth. Unfortunately, the text for swallow specifies the 30 points of damage must come from a single creature during their specific turn, and having disadvantage to attack a creature with an armor class of 17 is not quite my idea of a good time. I'd suggest Fireball, but Remmerhazes are immune to fire. The other option is for allies located outside the Remmerhaz to defeat it, which allows swallowed creatures to crawl out of the Remmerhaz with 15 feet of movement speed. Gross, but at least you won, right?
From beneath the snow and ice bursts a Remmerhaz in a cloud of steam, its body pulsing with internal fire. Wing-like fins flare from the back of the creature's head, and its wide mouth brims with jagged teeth.
This isn't a bad way to introduce a Remmerhaz, though the only way its fins are wing-like is because they're segmented. What wings look like this? The funny thing is, I don't even have a descriptive word I would replace wing-like with. Flanged isn't quite right because this weird, seemingly vestigial apparatus doesn't serve a supportive purpose, but calling it wing-like is f***ing insulting to creatures who have wings.
When hunting, a Remmerhaz burrows deep below the snow and ice and lies in wait for the faint vibrations created by a creature moving above it. While hidden under the ice and snow, it can lower its body temperature so that it doesn't melt its cover.
I mean, it can't be that deep below the surface if it wants to maximize its ability to sense prey. If burrowed 20 feet below the surface, a Remmerhaz has to take 2 2 rounds to reach prey not within 10 feet, basically 1 bite attack away. While not particularly deep, a Remmerhaz hiding 5 feet below the surface has the ability to ensnare prey within 35 feet, given it can surface within 5 feet, travel 25 feet on the surface, and bite a target 10 feet away. A Remmerhaz lowering its body temperature so as not to melt its little ambush cave is absolute fucking nonsense. Yes, I'm talking nonsense while looking directly into those stupid beady eyes of a made-up creature. Shh! If we look at a sentence earlier in that paragraph,
They can't tolerate warm weather, having adapted to the cold by generating a furnace-like heat within their bodies.
it's reasonable to assume Remmerhazes made a survival choice by naturally selecting for heated bodies instead of cooler ones. However, when a creature's body temperature dramatically rises or lowers, they are subjected to hyperthermia or hypothermia. This would be a nasty case of hypothermia, given a Remmerhaz would have to lower its temperature from a minimum of 437 degrees Fahrenheit to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a 93% reduction in body heat, and honestly should just kill the Remmerhaz because it's absolute nonsense that someone would make this a thing. Following this vein of thought, another major issue with a Remmerhaz is its existence. More specifically, a Remmerhaz has to consume an absurd number of prey animals in order to keep itself fed and continue to produce the ridiculous amount of heat it gives off. A Remmerhaz's body is an average of 20 feet long and 5-ish feet wide, but they can grow up to 40 feet in length. If you're not familiar with how energy transfers through the food chain, 90% of energy is lost as heat through each tier up from autotrophs. If we start with 100 points of energy in a plant, the elk who eats the plant burns 90 points of energy as heat and has 10 points of energy that remain in its body. A polar bear that eats the elk gains the elk's 10 points of energy and loses 9 of those points as heat. The remaining 1 point of energy is now available for the Remmerhaz to consume and gain that sole point of energy and proceed to use 9/10 of it to heat its body. I suppose if the Remmerhaz swallowed its prey whole and digested everything, it's very possible it could gain another % of energy from its meals. Predators consuming other predators makes little sense. Because of the immense amount of energy they're required to consume in order to stay alive, a Remmerhaz's diet should consist of mammoths, young ice dragons, good luck with that, giant elk, or maybe the odd frost giant. While I don't expect Wizards of the Coast to write a detailed, mesmerizing account of how their creatures successfully live in the wild, I do expect the entries to make sense. Is that unreasonable? You tell me. It's interesting that Remmerhazes can burrow through ice when it's rumored that ice is harder than concrete. Upon my own research, I am both intrigued and saddened to report that ice is not harder than concrete in most circumstances, at least according to the widely accepted Mohs hardness scale. If you're not familiar with this geologist-relevant, seemingly random scale of toughness, it starts at soft minerals like talc and proceeds upwards until it reaches the pinnacle of toughness. If you're not sure what the pinnacle is, don't worry, it's diamonds, which is probably why they are forever, until they degrade into graphite. But it might take a billion years. Nothing quite screams, "It's not my problem!" quite like that, eh? Ice has several measurements on the Mohs hardness scale depending on the external temperature and internal factors. At 32 degrees Fahrenheit, ice has a hardness of 1.5. For context, a fingernail is rated at a hardness of 2.5, so ice at a regular freezing temperature is less impressive than a measly fingernail. However, ice at a temperature of negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit increases the hardness to 6. Concrete measures between a 5 and 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. So why is ice largely regarded as the harder of the two? Well, I have an unfortunate hypothesis. Ice is deemed harder than concrete because it's a lot easier to brace or manipulate your fall on concrete than it is on ice. When one falls on an icy surface, it's often a quick, unpredictable, and violent occurrence that leaves the victim little time to react, and the ice provides no traction with which to lessen the impact of the fall. Anyways, what do you think of Remmerhazes? Let me know in the comments below. A special thank you to my incredible patrons. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, share my video on your Twitter, Facebook, or other social media, and make the leap to become one of my patrons on Patreon. I'll see you next time.